Shalom, all praises to Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahushua, Ba'Shem Harakakadash, double honors to the apostles and elders of the elder apostles of Great Muslim Rule, and Shalom to the hopeful elect, to the brothers doing this work, sincerity and truth. Found this article in The Guardian. It's an interview with, Mariana Spring, where she's what's the exact term? So the BBC's first social media investigations correspondent. So she basically, for the BBC, for the news outlet, will go through and kind of explore things happening online, things happening on the web, and then, kind of get up in there and report on what people are saying. And it's a very modern, fucking that destroyed me. A very modern kind of role because of how people engage with the news, TV, even TV station. What's it called? Traditional media is how it's called. And mainstream media. Those things are like, for most people in the younger generation, they barely engage with it. It's more the generation that grew up on TV. So like the generations from like the 60s onwards up until like the millennial generation, the 2000s, where it was more PCs than smartphones. Afterwards, iPads and smartphones, they kind of switched up. But then traditional media still has, their roots within a lot of these things, which then, now it's like they're getting hip to social media. But then people that go on social media for news, for whatever, they already at the point where they can just go Instagram, go on you can go on Facebook, you can go on Twitter, you can go on YouTube, you can go on wherever, and then you'll have people reporting on everything that's going on. You won't even You're gonna have obviously BBC, Euronews, whatever there, but then you're gonna have independent reporters, and that's more what people flock to online, because there's been generations basically of having the news in the hands of, like, a few people that would own the vast majority of like news stations and whatnot. So now people realize, oh, that's how they kind of pull the wool over your eyes. You've had like big disenchantments with the media, with like what's it called? The Iraq War is a big one. The 2008 financial crash, another big one. With C-19 is a more recent one, where you had, and with C-19, it's more relevant to this article, because when it was going down, you basically had a big push from like mainstream media and from the governments to limit what people could say online. You mentioned certain buzzwords, video clipped. You talk about certain things, it would just be zapped. And then even as it progressed, you know, you would basically have to agree with, the line of what the government was saying. If you didn't, you'd get zapped. And then even if it changed, 3 months later to what you're saying, then the government's like, oh, actually, that's what's happening. Then, you're still dealing with the consequences. So that's something that was a huge disillusionment for a lot of people recently, to kind of then realize, like, oh, hold on, there's a lot of BS that's been going down. And it's you've had, and the thing is like these online social media things, you'll have, it's like you've had governments doing these things for the longest. You'll have like reports of people going on the dark web, finding drug dealers, finding people selling weapons, guns, certain materials and whatnot. And you might hear about a little bit of it in kind of the mainstream, but it's more in the background. It's not really uh main news. So because of that, like, that's why even for news investigators, they'll have people on social media. Anytime an event happens, you see I always see it on Twitter. I remember it was recent one. I remember was when there was that guy outside Trump's his court case, who set himself on fire and died. Underneath every video of that was like all the different news agencies saying, hey, blah blah blah, that uploaded this, can we use this footage, can we pay you, or can we use this footage, or blah blah blah. And then people reply or say DM me or whatever. then they might, send them send them a few bucks for the for the video. So they're in social media kind of tracking these things. But then what this broad is more going into is I think longer term investigations. And this is part of the narrative that's being built in the UK as well, where the UK has kind of heavily been pushing the online trolls, online abuse, online kind of bullying or cyberbullying or whatever the hell, to then have that as like a baseline to then be like, yo, look, because of these things that are happening, because of this bullying, we need further restrictions on what people can post online. And then as well, the big thing they've been trying to push is tying your identity to your online profile. So if your name's just like if your name's James 1611 on Twitter, then instead of James 1611, it's going to be your full government name, just there, or underneath it will be your full government name. And there was a time I remember there was a time they did that with YouTube with Google Plus, where you had to tie a Google Plus account to your YouTube account, and then if you commented, if you posted or whatever, it would have your actual name underneath it. And they've had pushes like that, and there was huge pushback on that, because obviously it's like with that that pushback, people are just like, yo, why the fuck am I gonna let that shit ride? And it's been pushed back heavily. It's in the UK as well. Before then, they've tried from like I think maybe the 90s to get national IDs or like just ID cards, national ID cards for everyone. Multiple times they've tried to vote it through, and it's not got through. And that's been a big push in what you call it. Okay, now that's been a big push over here in the UK. So I get into the article a bit. It says, while organising an interview with Mariana Spring, the BBC's first media investigations correspondent, I asked if I could meet her at home. If I could meet her at home, it would be more intimate than meeting at the BBC's offices, I said, more relaxed. But a communications manager told me on the phone, it's a bit sensitive, she said. It's not that Mariana doesn't want to go to her house, she explains, it's just the trolls. And with, it's a big, long fucking interview. But obviously they're just setting up like, oh, just internet trolls. Like there's some super amorphous blob just, floating over everything, just destroying everything, and no one's able to do or understand anything. But then it's even with that whole narrative, that's just, anytime you engage with anything, you're going to have trolls regardless. That's just the nature of the internet. But then with those trolls, it's like, how much of a significant factor are they? And then that's the thing is these things on social media, they're categorizing, you know, a bunch of different things and then just throwing it in the category of, oh, it's trolls. Because it says, in the first 5 months of 2023, the BBC received 14,488 messages, abusive enough to be escalated by their system, designed to detect hate. 11,700 of those, around 8%, were about Spring. Due to her, I don't even know what it means, received. Maybe it's just what was posted on, I don't even know what that means. Due to her reporting on conspiracy theories, she's regularly targeted with death threats and harassment, both on and offline. For a while, a man camped in a tent outside the BBC's new broadcasting house, shouting disinformation agent in her face as she left work. Which means, while I can say Spring welcomes me with a hug and invites me into her front room for a conversation that will span murder in Kate Middleton and teenage boys, I can't describe the city she lives in, or who she lives with, or she lives with anybody else at all, or give any personal details that might put her in danger. And that's the thing is with, you'll have people online, you might have, like a crackpot that will go out and do some madness, but then, they'll take one You know, there might be 9 million people that might watch a video or read something or engage with something. And then, you know, if one crackpot, if those 9 million people could all be like, you're talking shit. But if, you know, if one guy goes out and then says like, yo, I'm gonna hunt you down, I'm gonna XYZ you or whatever, you know, one lunatic says that, then they can just throw everything in the bin. And that's a big part of how the whole narrative has been shaped around, you know, the online trolls, the bullying, or whatever, because it's really just being used to push legislation to restrict people from you know, hiding your identity online, to have it so you don't have to have like your fucking full government name tied to your online presence you have, and then as well to, you know, with that identity tied to you, then be able to persecute you or prosecute you for things you do online. So you might say something as a joke and they'll be like, okay, no, that was abusive. And the thing is in the UK, they always go into, they have the Section 4A Public Order Act, where, you know, if you call someone distress and alarm in any, you know, capacity in public, then you can be thrown in jail, you can be fined, you can be, uh, remanded off the back of that already. So if they get the online, you know, identity, then they're already doing it where it's like, you know, people post things online, they're getting thrown in jail, they're getting cops coming and saying like, oh, you made a Facebook message, you made a this. So it's all being pushed. And then, you know, that's why it's like this interview's interesting, because, you know, she's going into like, oh, you know, it's so dangerous, but then part of that is that's just engaging with things on the internet. Like anyone, you know, you go post, you know, we post our presence online as well. We, you know, post our faces there every week. You know, we're out there doing the work, and then you just kind of have to hold it. That is what it is. We will basically leave it to the Lord, man, to the angels to kind of have a hedge around us. So, you know, Lord willing, people can't just come up and do any form of madness. But it says, what? It's quite a big deal for me. She says, nervously as we sit on a sofa, I keep so private because I know that the world I investigate has attracted this group of trolls who will stop at nothing to figure out literally anything about me, then use it in some way. And that's the thing is most people online will generally maneuver that way anyway. Like most people aren't really, well, I say that, but outside of Facebook's kind of tied to your identity. But then on a lot of platforms, you'll have people where they might be posting shit online for like extent for years, and then no one will kind of know who they are. Especially in the UK, because why? You know, the cops will come banging on your door, and then put you in a headlock, suplex you into the back of the car, and then you'll be in court, and they'll be reading like, oh, so you on the, you know, 17th of July, you posted this. And the thing with all that is really just the highlight. That's going to be applied to brothers. That's going to be, you know, utilized against brothers. And that's really the big angle of how all this is being pushed. These are things where it's like they're saying it's the most terrible thing on earth, you know, for someone to be, you know, bullying you online, and then expand the scope of what that means, and then kind of get a nice broad law to be like, okay, look, if you know, cause distress and alarm or whatever, then we can come and you know, throw your ass in jail. And then with throw your ass in jail. And with, you know, the UK as it is, it's, you know, primed to be the spot where they might just get something you know, big law in place online. Because there's been smaller ones, but we'll see. Because there's what group of trolls stop at nothing. She once mentioned that her dad was a doctor, which led to strangers suggesting this connection is why she's invested in killing people with Max. Once she shared a picture online, and that's the thing is, you know, they present it like it's everyone online is just, you know, just rabid lunatics. But then I'll skip down because it's just hella background. Uh, So it says a bit further down, today her work, which includes Panorama Investigations and a BBC podcast, Why Do You Hate Me, the new US series of which investigates the online phenomena that could influence the election, sees her dig into the darkest corners of the internet, a place she calls Conspiracy Land, where she meets the people who live there, like those who claim tea attacks have been staged. Sometimes she meets her own trolls too. The harassment she receives is almost always about me being a young woman attempted to undermine my credibility using gendered slurs. You know, I've everything from a silly little girl who couldn't possibly know what's going on to an evil whore who's eating babies. She never would have guessed her own harassment would be such a large part of the story. And yeah, that's kind of how in the UK, because this ain't really like the first article going over it. It's been something that's pushed over time, whereas they'll just kind of say like, "Oh, people are posting hate and blah blah blah." You know, you can be disagreeing, but just because you're disagreeing, say, "Oh, it's a troll, it's a hater, or whatever," and then causing someone upset. That's enough to be like, okay, we need laws in place. Because what I think is important to talk about, I think a huge number of women in public life are subject to this, and obviously it gets way worse if you also get racist abuse and other forms of hate. And yeah, that's been like since Elon Musk kind of took over Twitter, it's been it's been blowing up. The racism angle has been getting huge again. Like it's been a hot minute, but then it's like it's popping off again. Uh, what was it? Okay, yeah. So as well as using uh, her own experiences as an example of how online hate metastasizes, her work has become a vital tool for those seeking to understand the conspiracy theories that continue to shape our world, and how, when the people in power abuse that power, they fuel anxieties that prompt these theories. Or you should also talk about the theories that get proven true, because I remember it's like when was it Pizzagate was being spoken about. They were like, "Oh, it's insane. Why would there be just these pedophile rings and blah blah." Then over the course of the next few years, you know, repeatedly you're hearing about, oh, okay, um, various different, what do you call it, rings kind of getting exposed. All kinds of freakism going down in the background, now getting highlighted. Uh, it says, what democracy relies on shared reality, Spring says. So we're sitting on the sofa, right? And I might love this sofa and you might hate the sofa. But if you don't agree the sofa is here, we can't have a conversation. Yeah. And then, she's going into just various different conspiracy theories. And that's the thing as well, is with these things is when evidence comes out, things get scraped out over time. A lot of things people aren't even around after the initial kind of time is spoken about to then be like, oh, okay, oh, so that actually happened, that went down, that shit went down like that. They'll just kind of have moved on to whatever is the next current thing. And it's like C19 is a lot of that, because you had various times where one thing was said, 3 months later it flipped, like the opposite that's being said. And then that thing that was the opposite, if you're saying that 3 months ago, then you're getting your channel's getting deleted. The police are saying, okay, you're putting disinformation. And then I did the video on what's his name, Mark Zuckerberg, going into how he said that he was getting his marching orders from the government as far as what people were allowed to say online, what posts were allowed to stay up on not on YouTube, on what's it called, on Facebook, and what had to be taken down. And that was, the same for all social media, because it was obvious after a while anyway, because things would be brought up, and then it would just be like, nah, you say certain words, you say certain things, you're getting zapped, and everyone realized over time, okay, they're censoring. And that's what, she's bringing up all this. She's basically, gonna, and the thing is as well is, it gets tied to like, oh, acts of violence being done or whatever, and then that will become the justification for saying, okay, no, we can't allow any of this to pop off. We need, all of this needs to be shut down. We need to put an end to that, and then restrict it from, from being done. Uh, and that's, but then it's it's a long fucking interview, and it's just she's yapping, but it shows that these things are being looked into, and this is just on a news reporter level. You obviously have different government agencies and whatnot, police, etc., where they'll have, whole teams, squads, and whatnot looking into these things, and keeping tabs on people. And that's kind of what where it's being pointed. It's all being pointed towards, like, okay, uh, it's all being pointed towards, okay, we're gonna we're gonna have to do something about it. We're gonna have to take action. We're gonna have to restrain, and that's where it's really gonna go. Because why Ezekiel 28:2, it's the Son of Man, say unto the Prince of Tyrus, thus saith the Most High Power, because thine heart is lifted up, and thou hast said, I am a God, I sit in the seat of God, in the midst of the seas, yet thou art a man, and not God, though thou set thine heart as the heart of God. Behold, thou art wiser than Daniel. There is no secret that they can hide from thee. And yeah, that's kind of the core of it. With Esau's approach, he's carnal in the first place, and the means by which he's basically trying to attain what the Most High has, where he's got his angels that keep check on everything. He's trying to have it where it's like, okay, he's trying to do that through technology, through carnal means. And then part of that is, locking down, restricting on what, people can say and do, or keeping tabs, passing them legislation to where it's like, okay, we can, spy and get into what people are doing on a deeper level. And it's always going to be justified with some righteous, honorable reason as to why they need to do that. But then what's the reality going to be? Because it'll say, behold, thou art wiser than Daniel. There's no secret that they can hide from thee. With thy wisdom, with thine understanding, thou hast gotten thee riches, and hast gotten gold and silver into thy treasures. By thy great wisdom and by thy traffic hast thou increased thy riches, and thy heart is lifted up because of thy riches. So yeah, he's been given that wisdom. He's been given those means to basically achieve a certain amount of what he desires. He's able to build up these technologies, these different technologies, to then have a certain amount of control, have people bought into certain things, achieve things that will look like miracles, to the people in the world, man. Things that they're just like, damn, wow, who could even possibly contend with this? But then what? That's part of all that shine he's put upon himself. Part of all that wisdom that he's showcasing is to then make people think, wow, align with him, trust in him, cling on to him, because through him that's how everything's gonna be accomplished and achieved. Because Isaiah 29:15, it says, woe unto them that seek deep to hide their counsel from the Lord Yahweh, and their works are in the dark, and they say, who seeth us and who knoweth us? Surely your turning things upside down shall be esteemed as a potter's clay. And yeah, that's a lot of what these plans of things that are done in the dark. That's why you have conspiracy theories, but then a lot of these you have conspiracy facts as well. When you're dealing with things being done by government, you have malicious, acts like Tuskegee and whatnot. You have various so-called theories or whatnot that decades after the time, 30, 40, 50 years after, they're admitting like, that shit went down. We got whole files, we got redacted files you can look through. We had people doing X, Y, Z. And then after that as well, you have, what do you call it? You had redacted files. And then after as well is you then should think, now in this modern time, what's going on now? And the thing is they'll come out, the different government agencies will admit to do, oh yeah, we're doing this kind of research, we're doing this kind of sting, we're setting up these kind of like there's all kinds of things being done. But then it's always like, nah, anything that's suggested, it's always like, oh no, that's not, nah, I can't prove that without, beyond the shadow of a doubt. So that's nah, we can't. Some people come out and say things, then they're always in the mindset of what do you call it? People come out and say, they're always like, nah, you're just crazy. And that's why that term, conspiracy theorist has been, cooked up, because as soon as it's basically got a whole spirit around it, to where as soon as you can tag someone with that, then it's just like, yeah, like that's someone that's batshit insane. You don't even have to engage with them on any kind of level. You just be, oh yeah, you should vacantly like glaze your eyes over and nod and be like, oh yeah, he's insane. You're not really gonna think about what's being presented. And then as well, it's like when those things do come out and you hear like, oh yeah, there's been a huge culture of like sexual favors, sexualizing children and whatnot in Hollywood. People are like, oh my god, I can't believe it. Meanwhile, these, for the last 20 years, you've been looking up to these, like, these are the most honorable, trustworthy, glorious, magnificent people. But, that's how, how these things run. It's and that's the thing as well, is with the internet, because it's freed up people to, the word, as well as all kinds of information to just flow out, to where before you'd need to go to a library, you might have to, wait for a TV interview, you might have to wait for certain things. Now you can just get all kinds of information like unrestrained. And then off the back of that, then it's those lies don't have as much strength. Because what it said, for shall the work say of him that made it, he made me not, or shall the thing framed say of him that framed it, he had no understanding. But was it Psalm 64:8? It says, so they shall make their own tongue to fall upon themselves. All that see them shall flee away. And yeah, that's the reality of it. These different technologies, Esau's been given the means to basically push them out. But then also, that's they're to his own destruction. The internet, the unicorn, wasn't for him to to achieve and accomplish what he desires with it, to have, well, to an extent, yes, because he needs to fulfill prophecy, but ultimately it's for the sake of the elect. Everything's for the sake of the elect. It says, and all men shall fear and shall declare the work of the Most High, for they shall wisely consider his doing. The righteous shall be glad in the Lord Yahweh and shall trust in him, and all the upright in heart shall glory. So yeah, that's the thing, is the righteous are basically gonna put their faith in the Lord Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, and as well, that will, well, utilizing the Holy Spirit, give us that clarity, to see through Esau's BS, man, so we can actually see the truth of things. That's the, that fog, that dark, gross darkness covering the people. That's part of why, you'll bring certain information to them, like, nah. But, we've been in a time as well where a bunch of things are now being unsealed and being opened up to people. They're like, damn, no, it's become the real. Fucking hell. Isaiah 47:1, it says, come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. Sit on the ground. There is no throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans. For thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate. Take the millstone, and yeah, that daughter of Babylon, talking about America, being no more tender and delicate. So it's not just going to be perceived as it was once, where it had that legend, that glorious, magnificent legend of they went out there, they just forged their own country, they fought off the oppression of the British, and they established themselves. And in World War II, the glory of D-Day, all those things gonna be forgotten. Take the millstones and grind mill, uncover thy locks, make bare the leg, uncover the fire, pass over the rivers. So the legs being showed off, it's cankerous, it's covered in cellulite, it's through, and that's the reality of it. There's been jeggings put round the leg to where it looks like it's shapely. Then that gets peeled off, and you see it's completely in decline. It was vile the whole time, and that's really the nature of how That's the nature of how Esau system's established. It appears like it's something magnificent. That's why even for John the Revelator said, wherefore didst thou marvel? Because why? Because it seems magnificent, it seems glorious. But then what? It says, thy nakedness shall be uncovered, yea, thy shame shall be seen. I will take vengeance, and I will not meet thee as a man. Yeah, thy nakedness will be uncovered, thy shame will be seen. All the, filth, that's basically being showcased. And that's being showcased on a broad scale to all the nations, to where they're looking like, hold on, this is who we're referencing. Nahum 3:4, it says, because of the multitude of the whoredoms of the well-favored harlot, the mistress of witchcrafts, that selleth nations for her whoredoms, and families for her witchcrafts. Behold, I am against thee, saith the Lord Yahweh of hosts, and I will discover thy skirts upon thy face, and I will show the nations thy nakedness, and the kingdoms thy shame. And yeah, because of what the multitude of the whoredoms of the well-favored harlot, the mistress of witchcrafts. Because why? How America was established, how it maintained itself, and really the root of Esau's, means by which he bears rule, is all through that left hand side. Further down Isaiah 47, it says, "What stand now with thine stand now with thine enchantments that thou was labored in from thy youth." All those different forms of witchcraft, all these different reverencing of these different observations, these heathenish observations of all these different gods, deities, different forms of lifestyle and whatnot. These things are all basically part of why it needs to be judged. It says, behold, I am against thee, saith the Lord Yahweh of hosts, and I will discover thy skirts upon thy face, and I will show the nations thy nakedness, and the kingdoms thy shame. I will cast abominable filth upon thee, and make thee vile, and set thee as a gazing stock. And yeah, it's a showcase being made as well. It's not just that all these different it's not just that all these different nations are now looking and seeing like, damn, like that's or even it's just kind of happening. It's being showcased, but it's not really being broadcast. It's all these things are being publicized and made going around the globe. The internet as well facilitates a lot of that, where anything gets out, it can go mega viral. You can have something happen, and then within a matter of minutes, millions to billions of people could have seen it, and then just be like, damn, oh shit, didn't even know that was going down. And that's how all to be. And that's why the kind of stuff certain narratives that build up in advance, but ultimately comes down to the truth. The truth is going to completely destroy and pulverize so-called narratives, to then just declare, man, who this man is. But yeah, I'll leave you there. Shalom. Shalom. Yeah, but